So GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley, who has seen her poll numbers double in the most recent polls, she joins me next.
But let's remember that the Hamas terrorist organization has been inciting violence for years, long before the United States decided to move our embassy.
That we want to bring in Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley. She served as U.S. ambassador under former President Trump, and she joins me now. Governor, good to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Martha.
Thank you. These are very difficult times for this country, and we see what's happening in the cities across this country. We're looking right now at a protest in favor of Palestine in Times Square. Your thoughts as we are on day 6 now, and it looks like we're about to see a more full invasion of Gaza by the Israelis.
This is a heavy time for sure. And I think that we have to look at what is happening. If you look at what's happening across the country, what that means to me is we have to heavily communicate how brutal, how torturous, how bloody all of this was that Hamas did to Israel, and say this can never stand. We need to eliminate Hamas. We need to make sure that we eliminate them for good. And it's not just having and supporting Israel when they get hit. We need to support Israel when they hit back as well. The second side of it is we all care about the Palestinians. It's not that we want to hurt the Palestinians that are innocent in this. In Gaza, you've got half the Palestinian community that supports Hamas. You've got the other half that doesn't. That's why Israeli has put flyers out. That's why they've tried to warn them. That's why Egypt should take them. But let's be clear. There's going to be a time where not only I expect the Biden administration, everybody else is going to tell Israel, hold back, use restraint. No, you eliminate terrorists wherever they are. And I was in those tunnels, Martha. I've been on the border of Gaza. I've been on the border of Lebanon and seen those missiles pointing right at Israel. And, I've given speeches about how dangerous this is. Those tunnels, this tells you about Hamas. Those tunnels, they don't have them out in the middle of nowhere. They put those tunnels that they keep ammunition and equipment in under schools, under hospitals, because they want innocent civilians to die. And there's a reason Hamas is not letting the civilians out now. Is because they want to be able to say Israel did this. No, Hamas did this. Let's be clear about that and make sure that we remember that.
So there's so much on the president's plate right now. He has the United States as the main supporter of war in Europe and also war in the Middle East. These are very consequential times for leadership in the country. Then here at home, you have concerns about security and people who've crossed the border, many of them on the terror watch list. And we have, drained down law enforcement in this country that is supposed to suddenly step up its presence all over these cities. So tell me a little bit about how you would approach all of this as president.
I think if you look at the Democrat chaos that's been given to us, we've got Democrat chaos with inflation. We've got Democrat chaos in our schools. We've got Democrat chaos on the streets with a lack of accountability and prosecutors not prosecuting. We've got Democrat chaos on the border with our national security threats. And we've got, chaos around the world because of the failures of the Biden administration with Afghanistan. But what we need to remember as Americans is you don't fix Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. This is a time that we need true leadership. This is a time that we have to keep moral clarity as we go forward. You have a country, Ukraine, that's a pro-American, freedom-loving country that's been invaded by a thug, Russia. Russia gets their missiles and drones from Iran. Remember that. Then you've got another aggressor, China, who's being aggressive with Taiwan and aggressive towards us and infiltrating our country. China's the biggest importer of oil from Iran. Then you have Iran, and there would be no Hamas without Iran. There wouldn't be the Houthis without Iran. There wouldn't be Hezbollah without Iran. So you've got here our closest ally, Israel, who literally had their 9/11 moment. We have to make sure that we know the difference between right and wrong, that we know the difference between good and evil, and that we have moral clarity. We need to have the backs of Ukraine, because if Ukraine wins, it sends the biggest message to China and it prevents us from going to war further. We need to have the backs of Israel. because Israel is facing a terrible time in their country, and they're a bright spot in a tough neighborhood, and they are the front line of defense when it comes to us and Israel defeating Islamic terrorism. And in all of that, as we remember that, remember more than anything else, America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends. We can never be so arrogant to think if we stay in our little circle that terrorism and threats won't face us here. They will. Us taking care of our friends is taking care of Americans.
Well, I want to play this. President Trump is, the former president, still in the lead by a wide margin. But I did mention that your polls have increased. They've doubled to the double digits at this point in the latest polling that we have. Here's what he said about this unfolding situation in Israel. Watch.
They said, wait a minute. You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart.
He has been hurt very badly because of what's happened here. He was not prepared. He was not prepared, and Israel was not prepared.
Going after Prime Minister Netanyahu there, and you heard the reference to Hezbollah. What's your reaction to that?
You know, I thought that President Trump was the right president at the right time. I supported him and I agreed with most of his policies. But this is the reason I say we have to have a new a new conservative leader going forward with our country. You can't be congratulating Hezbollah. You can't be congratulating the Communist Party like he did. You can't go and criticize a country that's just seen the worst devastation since the Holocaust. We need moral clarity. We've got to have leadership. He's living in the past. He's living with the headlines of the past, and he's making it all about him. It's not about him. It's about protecting America and protecting our friends. We have to have a new conservative leader going forward, and that's why I'm going to win this presidency, and that's why we're going to finish this.